Hello, world. I just thought I'd sit down and have another journal, and I must be getting used to this because I'm sitting down and not caring what I look like these days, and that's such a pleasure to be able to do. So, yeah, and children are at school. I have done some cleaning, had a bit of a think, and went, I need to get some things out of my head. I've been chatting to a number of people in the last 24 hours, and it's really brought some of my own thoughts to the forefront. I've been thinking about things like why, when I meet someone that I enjoy spending time with, are they always neurodivergent? It's a very common thing, I recognize that. And yet, I find it surprising how many people seem to be, in just a relational way, attracted to me when they're neurodivergent and want to talk to me and have a whole life story. And that's a lovely thing, and I really appreciate that. But it's been a long time since someone who's not quirky and random comes and actually talks to me. I have Ken, who I value so much, and he's such a joy in our lives. I really value his friendship, and I really hope that he continues to be part of our lives, primarily as a friend. And anything more, that'd be great in terms of helping the children. But he is such a blessing to our lives and such great value. I hope the washing machine isn't too noisy, and I apologise for that. But I'm just amazed at how many people are completely oblivious to where they stand within society in terms of whether they're typical or divergent, and why they think differently, and how they actually sit in certain sections. I was talking to someone yesterday who was utterly surprised that I was able to um, guess in kind of a methodical way certain things that they enjoy doing, certain foods that they like. And they said, oh, I don't know why I like it. And I said, maybe it's because this and this. And they went, you've just taught me something about myself that I have never considered. And yeah, it's exactly that. And I really enjoy being able to understand people. And I don't think neurodivergent is exactly what it is. I think that humans can be generalized into groupings. That is a way that we come to understand people. But many times people either group them into black or white in terms of this or that. And yet it can't be that simple. It has to be at the very least kind of a group of 5 different things. And the divergence at the moment are just the other. So you're either this or you're other. And yet they're not divergent. They're just not part of the initial group. The second group is quite a large group and can easily form a large minority. Um, and then there are these other groups that can be formed. And yet I actually consider that the second group, the second biggest group, being the neurodivergent with certain parameters, could indeed be classed as normal as well. They're not the biggest normal, but they're the second biggest normal. And because we're so reticent to identify people as different from the main group, there's a whole bunch of people that don't recognize that they only fit this pattern in life. And having been able to recognize those patterns and those subsections, it's really been intriguing to me. And I wonder where people will take this in the future. I think it is actually, I think generalizations are a wonderful thing as long as you don't use them beyond what they are. So you use them to subtype somebody and then understand them within that type, and not say you have to be like this because you're in here, but it gives you a basis where to start from. Um, Part of understanding a person is to first generalize them and then recognize how they differ from their generalization, and that is what makes them special. Um, I love talking to neurodivergent people. I would love to have a different term for that. Not because I think neurodivergent is an ugly term. I think it's a nice term, just a little bit different from the norm. But at the moment, it only registers people as almost having an issue. You have the normal people and then the people with an issue. Whereas I see it as the people that fit the first mold, and then the people that fit the second mold, and people that fit the third mold. If I believed in reincarnation, I would definitely want to do something like come back and really identify all the different molds that you have. Uh, there is much work done in all of these areas. However, they've been done through different lenses and across different wavelengths. So the data is out there, but people haven't stepped back and looked at it from a different perspective and seen that all these piles actually line up beautifully. That's just a thought that I've been having today. I had lunch with a group of ladies from church on Tuesday. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. They're a wonderful group. They are from different sections of my life within the one section, which is really cool. All of them are from Brown Church. No, they're from Brown Church and White Church. So my church family has one section of the church that is governed by the same minister team, and the kids identify the two different buildings from as because we cross two different suburbs, one as White Church and one as Brown Church. And so we traditionally attended the Sunday service at Brown Church. Then we went to the Bible studies and the kids groups at White Church and that sort of thing. We've now moved to New Church, as they've now classed it. And that one's a bit further away. But the ladies that I met up with were all associated with White and Brown Church. Yet their lives hadn't always crossed over. And they're a great bunch of ladies. The age range was from being in their 60s up to being in their 70s, and one of them being high 70s, I believe. And they bring a new dimension to my friends. Ellie and I went, so she being 15, got to watch what it's like to see females of different age ranges just getting together and having fellowship and spending a lovely time together, which was pretty cool. I'm going to drink my coffee. I think it's really important that we follow part of the church model, which is grandparents and aunties and uncles and mums and dads and have church family as a family. And Ellie is missing some key figures in her life, sadly. And I'd love her to have biological people there as well as her church family. But she doesn't have many older females in her life. And she really thrives talking to them, and she loves spending time with them and learning from them. And I remember being her age and wanting to do the same thing, so I don't blame her for that. But having her sit there and chat and listen to the older ladies talking about their senior parents who are highly aged or no longer with us, or they'd be talking about um, physical issues they have or social relations that they've had in the last little while, or what is going on in their lives, or anything, or things that they're enjoying. They also then could talked about the way they read books. Some are read audiobooks because um, they've gone undiagnosed for their life as not being able to read really that well due to dyslexia, etc., and intake information much better by hearing it. And others are voracious readers and talking about all the different types of books they read. And Ellie found that she was reading the same books that they're reading, and it was just so lovely. And it turned out that my dad happened to be was out with one of the husbands of the females that we were visiting. And so my dad ended up turning up a little while later. And so he joined in with the husband of one of the ladies and had a natter with us, which everyone seemed to really enjoy, and Dad seemed to be chuffed by. He's really enjoying this whole new part of his life, and it was nice to have my life start to, I think cohesiveness is the wrong word, but start to gel and interweave, and it was lovely. But anyway, so some of these people have been really good friends of mine that go to Brown Church, and some of them are really good friends of mine that go to White Church, and they've been in the same church family. They know each other in passing, and appreciate each other, but don't know each other's stories or spend time to each other. And they all just hit it off, and it was fantastic. And each of us knew the others in a different situation in a way, and it brought a lovely diversity to it. I'm meant to be doing Bear's NDIS paperwork at the moment. I'm finding it really confronting, and it's really bringing up some issues that I've been talking to Ken about, where Bear is stuck being significantly behind children of his age, and Ken thinks that he's stuck and not moving forward and is really needing to catch up now, otherwise he will miss some of the boat for that. But I'm looking at the fact that Bear has always been delayed, and his development, it was always delayed, but it really became very apparent about age 3, just after my husband left. And he really got stuck there for a while, and he's managed to keep progressing, but there's some areas that he didn't until I started intervention. And we did have lots of intervention, and yet Bear is fighting intervention so much because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to grow up. He's so scared of change. He's so fearful of losing what he has. There's so many things that he's trying to protect himself from. He doesn't want to allow himself to have strong emotions and develop can't stay where he's at. We need to get his physical functioning better, him be able to use his hands better, his body better, his tongue so that he can speak better. He doesn't have full function, full vocabulary for his age. He isn't able to communicate sufficiently with people. He's really behind, and yet is still going under the radar and slowly getting further behind her. He was coping in mainstream, but is flourishing now in the disability unit. And the difficulty is that he is really smart, but he's becoming stuck in certain systems. And he tries to explain what is going on in his head, and Ken and I spend hours talking to him about where he gets stuck, what he's thinking, why he gets scared, why he can't leave the house, why he can't talk with people, what stresses him out about certain situations, in order that we can move him forward. And knowing the right way to approach this little man is really difficult. Ken, coming from a background where men need to step up and be men and know their place, and that gives them a foundation to then work out who they are within that and branch out to really diversify on that. It pulls in so many social things that Bear doesn't understand, that then creates lovely and hilarious conversations where Ken just goes, well, I don't know where to go from here. So if you describe something as a girl thing to do or a boy thing to do, and then he can't understand why Bear then suddenly turns around and speaks to Abby's friends about not being they're not very good girls because they act more like boys and all this other stuff. It's a pitfall. Or if you say, well, there doesn't need to be these boundaries in place, Bear can't find out where he fits, because in a world that has no boundaries, he's lost. And so having a boundary of this is where this is, and then choosing to push that boundary up or down, allows him to modify it so it is correct for him. I'm wondering if that washing machine's getting too loud. But we'll just have to wait and see when I listen to this later, I suppose. I wonder if I can see anything here. No, I can't see anything here. Oh, there was a section that showed me a visual display of the audio, but I can't find it, and that's okay. This is more a record for prosperity rather than anything else. Something where I can get my thoughts out that may be helpful for somebody else, but probably isn't, and that's okay. It's really difficult raising children. I think that I'm pretty good at it. It's one thing that I just seem to have a knack for. Don't get stressed by, seem to know what the next step is, and I don't get stressed by it. However, the complexities of the children and their issues, and then trying to bring them into the world in a more social way is really, really difficult. Abby's been really struggling lately. She's desperate for love, completely confused by the situation with her dad. She says things that may or may not be true, and feels the burden that people place on her when they think that she's old enough to make decisions for herself, and she's not. She's 10, and the burden of making adult decisions is just not okay. And it will come to bite her when she's 20 and 30. And I don't want that for her. She is very welcome to have inputs into everything to do with her life, but in the end, I have to be responsible for making the decisions for her and really putting the logic and the wisdom into it so that the burden of responsibility isn't on her head, because she doesn't need to be worrying about some big major things and looking after adults and doing the right thing. She just has to be a kid. And so you watch her trying to carry the burden that's been placed on her, where she thinks that she's responsible for a lot of this visitation stuff. And you see, she comes to me every day and talks about it, and I sit there and just listen. And then she'll go away and she speaks to Bear, who's been speaking to other people, and then comes back and says other things. And then you have other adults who try and give her advice. And the burden is so heavy on her. And then she's got this desire to be loved because she worries about being loved. And that's all tied in with how to understand her parents. And it's such a difficult thing. She doesn't know how to process things. And I'm not going to always give her the full reality of her situation, because some of that information is too big for her. And yet she's got snippets, and it's just a very difficult thing. She's doing amazing though, and the struggle that she's having with all of this is giving her great wisdom. I do worry that she will have a craving for attention as she gets older, because there has been such a hole and gap in her life and so much trauma. I don't know how to protect her from that, and the reality is it's because I can't. There's only so much that I can do, and I can be here and I can parent her and I can love her and provide her as much as I can, but in the end there is damage done, and I can't help her with that. I just hope that there is enough scaffolding around her when she gets ready to deal with it, that she's able to. She does live a pretty cool life at the moment, though. Not that she would recognise it. She spends her life going between play dates, activities, going out walking in the bush, going to school, going ice skating, kayaking. There's just so much that she does. And she doesn't recognise how fortunate she is. She comes home each day and has my attention, and we do things together, and she's got access to so much stuff. And she's got a freedom here in terms of in the suburb we live in, where she can go out and it's safe, and she's got access to her friends really close, and they all pop over and just kind of put their head over the fence and go, "Oh, is Abby free?" And she just gets to choose whoever's going to come over because people pop in. And yeah, I hope it's going to be enough. I really do. She and Ellie want to still go forward with the buying a second house. Um, the children have always had this thing where they were going to assist each other to buy consecutive homes. So live together and then buy the next one, and live together and buy the next one, and so that everyone would have a home and have security, let's say, um, or an increase in security. And they've worried about that in the past. And Abby wants to really have a part in that, and she's now wanting to get a job again and look at getting more homes. She is obviously not able to really understand what she's getting herself into, um, and is not prepared for that type of responsibility. She can't look after a dog at the moment, let alone prepare herself for that type of time investment and burden. But it's sweet, and uh, it's nice to see her grappling with bigger issues and taking on responsibility and looking forward. In the end, God will provide, and we don't know where He will take us, but I think she's also trying to fill in the void where Sissy is at the moment. And when you think about Sissy, how I don't know how to respond to what she's doing at the moment. I don't know how to parent that. What is the most appropriate thing to do? It's a definite catch-22. All I can continue to do is love unconditionally. And as time has passed, it's been really difficult to see that she has become more and more extreme in her opinions. Like the other day, she told the children that I offered to pay. There's a camp coming up that she goes to, $450, and so I contacted her and said, "Look, I'm all happy to pay for it if you want to go, and no strings attached. You can go." But she was like, "Oh no, Mum will make it awful. She'll make it so it's unbearable and the worst camp ever." And it's I don't know where she's coming up with all these ideas and thoughts. It's really, really shocking what she's progressively getting into her mind of how much she's hated when we've been such a close family, and there has been such a cohesiveness and team about the family, and then suddenly these thoughts are in her head and are getting stronger and stronger about the world planning evil against her, and especially the family. And the more loving we acted towards her, the more she says we're manipulating her. And I hate this for her. I know she doesn't see what I can see in the future, and it's very hard for her to change her mindset when she gets in a way without having someone else intervene, like me. And it normally was me, but I've just got no words. I really don't. I hate what's happening for her. She doesn't know what is being introduced into her head. She doesn't know how she'll see it when she's 30 or 40. Either way, I just keep going back and thinking the correct response is to unconditionally love and at this point not force the cards or anything. There were so many things that I could and come in guns a blazing. So many things have been done wrong, and it would be very easy to change the situation. Yeah, that isn't the right way to go, but it has been a long time now, a very long time. What are you doing, sweetheart? Anyway, I think I might sign off now. I might come back and talk later. God bless. Go out and love somebody today. Ciao.